Hello everyone. Today is going to be a different kind of stream today. I want to show off this visual novel that I've really come to enjoy. It's called Our Life Beginning and Always. It's essentially a sort of childhood friends to lovers dating sim. Although, the story could go however you want it to go. The main selling point of this game is there's like so much you can customize about your playthrough, from your character to just choices you make. There are no wrong answers. The choices are just meant to personalize your story in a way that suits you. And so for this stream, I am going to be using a random number generator to just randomly pick choices in the story and just show off how each playthrough can be unique to you. Okay, we're gonna start a new game here. I'll just give you the brief run through for new viewers. Welcome to Our Life Beginning and Always. There are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu to learn about everything in detail. To start off, the game is divided into 4 time periods called steps. Step 1 is childhood, Step 2 is adolescence, Step 3 is young adulthood, and Step 4 is adulthood. Our life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. Those are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You move on to the next step whenever you want by selecting that summer is ending. Steps 1 through 3 include 5 moments each, and even more can be unlocked by purchasing DLCs. Some are out now and other DLCs will release later on. Step 4 is an epilogue and doesn't include moments. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character: name, appearance, personality, pronouns, interests, skills, your relationship with major characters, and so on. You can decide to change the details as time goes on, with a few exceptions. Your last name, skin tone, and eye color can't be altered. Much of the MC's basic traits are determined on the character creation tree. As the MC grows up, more options become available on the screen. As mentioned, one of the decisions you'll get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voice names because the name will be voiced loud by the romantic lead. You get to hear him say your name as you play through the story. Only the default name Jamie is included in the base game. Hundreds more can be added by getting a free voice name expansion DLC. The full collection of names is separated out as a DLC because of how large it is. If you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to get it. Each name in the DLC belongs to or was selected by someone who supported this project. This game has started as a little Kickstarter project, which of course is very successful. On the character creation screen, there's a cute doll you can decorate to get an idea of what your MC looks like with the different traits you put together. Not all the things you decide about the MC appear on the doll. The script referencing what you've decided for the MC is the main way those decisions influence the game. Our Life has a first-person perspective, so your character doesn't appear next to other character sprites. You only see the MC as a decorated doll and in special cut in CG images. The cut in CGs only appear if certain choices are made. It's possible not to see any during the playthrough. There's also a second type of special MC-based screen, the Interest and Comfort screen. Unless you get DLCs, the game has one love interest, Cove Holden. He grows up with the MC, and the Interest Comfort screen is crucial for determining how that plays out. Interest level sets how much you like him. There are 4 levels: disinterest, fond, crush, and love. Love is only available starting in Step 3, and if you are fond or crushed in Step 2. Comfort determines how you generally react or think when it comes to them. There are 3 levels: nervous, relaxed, and direct. Your level of interest and comfort will set the type of dynamic your character has with the love interest. What you did in the past will influence the present, and feelings can change over time. You get to pick your interest and comfort near the beginning of every step. Comfort can switch between the three levels as you please. Your interest level can only stay the same or increase. Your current level of interest will become the lowest option on the screen in the future. For example, if you decide to be Fawn in Step 1, this interest will not be available on the screen in Steps 2 and 3, which will make the Fawn but a bottleneck option for your relationships. So your relationship with Cove can only go up, never down. Interest level has an impact when it comes to physically interacting with Cove. While growing up, things are rather simple. If you get along with one another and have a close relationship, you can choose to touch him, and Cove will occasionally interact with the MC in lighthearted and comforting ways. Starting in Step 3, touching can become more romantic or suggestive if you're at crush or love. To make sure things go nicely with that, there will be an extra choice to determine initiative level, and a bonus mini tutorial that goes along with the choice to explain the feature in more detail. Basically, you decide you like Cove, the game won't force you to act on those feelings. You can always choose not to get together with him, choose not to accept or give romantic gestures, etc. If you do decide to date Cove, though, you can't break up with him later. Interest comfort gets the basics down, but it's the choices that appear throughout the normal game events that decide what actually happens between the MC and Cove. And it isn't only the MC who's impacted by your decisions. Cove grows and changes over the years. How he's treated and what he experiences help shape who he becomes. In Step 2 and Step 3, Cove's personality, appearance, and interests will vary based on what happened in the previous step. It's something of a mystery exactly how your decisions end up changing him. You can try to guess as you go along. Or if you prefer, you can also just design your own ideal Cove directly using the Cove Creator option that pops up at the beginning of Steps 2 and 3. Making the choices you want is always more important than making a choice because you feel like you have to in order to get a certain result. When choice does appear, usually you'll see that hovering the cursor over an option shows a certain color, yellow, blue, or green. The colors aren't related to specific points or effects, they're only there to give a bit of insight on the tone and emotion of the choice, since text alone can potentially be read in more than one way. Blue tends to be casual, straightforward. Yellow is more emotive, reactive, and green less certain, uncommitted. Though there are hundreds of options in our life, not every choice menu falls in line with that pattern. Picking just one color every time doesn't give a gameplay benefit. Only stick to a certain type if that's what you happen to like. But switch between them freely. Always pick yellow, never pick yellow, pursue romance right from the start, never romance the love interest, be disagreeable or amiable. None of them will lead to a bad ending. You don't do that here. You're welcome to enjoy the events and shape the story without reservation. And then if you like, you can play again to try something new. There's only ever more good content to discover. We hope you have a nice time with Our Life. Thank you for playing. That tutorial is nice and comprehensive. So here, we're starting here in our character customization screen. This is the default name, Jamie Lass. As I said before, the voiced name DLC is totally free. And though you're not gonna have every name, there is a very good selection that you can have Cove say in certain parts of the game. So on the chance that your name happens to be in this list, it can make it a little more immersive for you. And also, if your name happens to match these pronunciations but you want a different spelling, you can just edit it right in the customization screen. No problem. But we're just gonna go with the default Jamie. Okay, let's see what pronouns we want to start with. And we can gonna start with a boy Jamie. Let's see. Of course, you have like these basic options for body, or at least face. Hey. And you could get all the anime hair care and colors. And there are like a lot of hairstyles go through. Although the ones in there are just the color variation of one hairstyle. Here, the two-tone. Okay, try not to make this take too long. And we can change this between steps anyway. And we can decide if they have birthmarks, scars. Little blushy boy. Freckles. Give him some glasses. And these, like, you won't see on like this image, but at some point in the story they could be mentioned. This side is what kind of clothing your characters would prefer to wear. Birthmark on your back. Prickly arms. And that's all for the basic customization. We can just start the story now. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. A usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination, with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside your neighborhood. They knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved, or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Okay, what kind of kid is our Jamie? You were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. You got a shy Jamie. They still smiled at you anyway, and that made you feel a little more comfortable. But today, there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wonder if he was even a real person or a statue that magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set up a lot of red flags. Your mom's had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. And another. You remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. You weren't sure about this man yet. But whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to be bothered. You slowed down, as you thought about how you could get around this. There was a split second where your eyes met. That wasn't good. He was probably going to say something now that he'd seen you standing around here. Hey! You were right. His deep voice called out to you, but he didn't say anything. Unfortunately, the man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. So, you live around here? What's your name? You looked up the man up and down, taking in his tanned skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, looking for an answer to his question. Yeah, I live here. That's great. He looked happy to hear it, giving you a broad smile. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crackled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him.
Well...
Could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should've. Let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. He chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. He wasn't the only person like that in Sunset Bird. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured toward the house that had been empty for over a year, his watch catching late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Jamie Lass, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid, you'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you gotta keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. He kinda felt sorry for Cove. This definitely wasn't a normal way kids made friends, you knew that. What do you say? Wanna make a deal? We're running away. He spun around and made a break for it. You don't offer any explanation, you just focus on getting away. You turn to Swan bolted down the street, ignoring his calls from behind you. Hey! Come back! I'm sorry if I scared you! I didn't know how else to ask! The soles of your shoes slapped against the concrete sidewalk as you ran, heat from the sun warm on your face. Our Jamie's not having a good time right now. Eventually, his shouting faded into the distance. You let yourself slow down and try to catch your breath, wiping the sweat from your forehead with the back of your hand. Chirping of crickets and tall, dry grass echoed around you, and you lifted your head to survey your surroundings. You'd run right into the hills behind your house's backyard. From here, you could probably get back inside without seeing the guy again. You'd be able to hide here until you left, then you go through the front door. You could peek around the corner and make sure he was gone before making a break for it. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, being a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have ink cast. But this new boy did. You wondered how he got it. After a few more seconds, he took a step forward, then another. And then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hey, Space Cadet. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at its sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. He was your age, but he didn't look familiar. Maybe he was the boy that weird new neighbor had been talking about before you ran. The only way you didn't actually know was to ask. What's your name, anyway? He sniffled a little, rubbing at his ruddy cheeks before he answered. My name's Cove.
I'm...
You could see him hesitate, lifting his eyes to the side and then back to you again. My dad and me, we moved here. Your guess was confirmed. So, is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. Yep. Bye then. Wait, you can stay. I'm not kicking you out. What you said? I don't have to make people leave just because it's not theirs. Other people can visit. His face relaxed a little at that, and he toed the grass beneath his shoe timidly. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, he sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stop, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. They don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a whole house here, and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Ko's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He shuffled and removed his glasses, wiping out his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Ko wound himself up again for another long crying fit. He felt bad for him, being forced to come here with no choice. He couldn't imagine what it'd feel like to live with only one of your moms. It must be pretty hard. But, from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Jamie!
Cove?
Kids, where'd you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell him we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. You can handle it. And even if you can't, he's your dad, right? Yeah, he is. Dusting the grass off of your pants, you stood up. So you didn't come here by yourself or with a stranger. He's gotta take care of you no matter what. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not-bandaged arm.
Sorry.
I still don't want to go. You waited silently with him. Yeah, I get it. You do? Before you could answer, you heard Cove's dad, even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landing on you, and they rushed over. Over your mom's your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Jamie, you're here after all. You've been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone up further away. No, we were just sitting in the grass. Thank God you're both fine. Wait till you having fun out here? He looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. He shrugged. It's new here. It was okay. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Jamie knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. You should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure. Can I show him my stuff?
Of course.
And okay. Both of your moms laughs, the sounds overlapping to a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied, and more than a little ready to go to bed after a long and exciting day, you followed them home. How do we feel about Cove? Gotta relax. We're crushing on him already. Just gonna jump right into it. The next morning, you finished your breakfast so fast that you practically inhaled it. Your sister Lizzie had run out early to go play, but you stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Jamie? Yeah, a lot.
How sweet.
Isn't that just the sweetest thing? I think the two of them are going to be great playmates.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. With all the exasperation an 8-year-old can muster, you look at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mom.
Okay.
Okay, attitude kid, we see. Good job. You should be here soon. Meetup began, and then, on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Jamie, could you get it? You practically leapt out of your chair on the way to the door. Hey, that's family. Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him, and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. Pleased to see the interesting new boy again, you smiled at Cove. Cove returned it shyly. You twisted the crystal bead bracelet on your wrist. Let's go play in my room.
Okay. Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
See you later, son. Play nice. You go into your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There are lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you're really proud of it. You leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. I don't. I drew it, but it's not very good. I think it is. You smiled slightly at him. Even if it wasn't work you were pleased with, it was polite of him to say. You turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You're glad for the company. It was nice to have someone new to play with. And his eyes landing on the tiny box of beach things you collected, tucked away by your door. You took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? Order stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Ko flopped down next to it. Think so. Yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with the specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Oh, right. I almost forgot. Shiloh's gonna be here today. Shiloh? Lizzie's friend, or like, her #1 fan, I guess? Do I have to see him? It should be okay. I mean, he's Lizzie's friend, not mine, but you know. Come on, check out my shelf some more. On this one, and a big piece of seaweed that washed ashore, and he pulled out seashell off the seashell, explaining where you got each one and holding them up against the light. There are big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed up in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you even learned some of their scientific names. With a whole picture book dedicated to different shells and sea life. You learned a lot by flipping through the pages. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Bob listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. A new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus. For some reason, it was making your cheeks feel warm. You never felt like this around someone before. It was kind of weird. Yes, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't liked this meeting you. You guessed it was because you found each other by accident, and a parent didn't make it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor in your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great! Bust it open. You can keep looking while you wait for Shiloh. Cove reached in and pulled a big orange shell. Whoa. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. generator's weapon. You can take it. Cove looked in surprise, his eyes growing wide. Really? Sure, you like it a lot, right? But I don't want to take it from you. It's okay. You got the impression he was hesitant to accept something because he didn't know you very well. He let it go. Okay. He didn't want to pressure Cove too much. It was supposed to make him happy, not nervous. Plus, Cove's with your neighbor now. Maybe you could give it to him another time. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, he figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? He nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be right. It's here. We can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked in the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, he stepped forward, then paused. Please don't get hurt. I'm worried. What if something happens? The distance from the first floor living room window wasn't far, but you could tell it made Cove nervous anyway. He touched the cast on his arm. The wind had clearly released from his sails. I don't want to break any more bones. I don't think anyone wants to. Yeah. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. We encouraged him. Hey, if you do have a hard time with him, I'll tell him to leave. Is that okay? Okay. Bella poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he heard what you've been saying or not, but you guessed he had.
Hi!
Hi, Jamie! And hi, Cove? Cove shot you an uneasy glance.
Hi.
I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? Looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Cove shrugged and looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach thing some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. Hey, check out this scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It's a pretty color, kinda like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green. Or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
There are better colors. Says you. You poked your tongue out of Cove, trying not to laugh when you did the same thing in retaliation. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. Wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yeah, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you even had answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Jamie? The park is fun. I love it.
Yeah!
It's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. There's a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. You perked up. Both boys wanted to go, it was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short, she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on a jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie! Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Jamie! Shiloh! Hi! She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, and now Cove was here. It was nice to have someone who stuck with you. Who's that? It's Cove, he's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else can handle the job? Lizzie's the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Jamie's age.
Yeah.
Not so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shadow's just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth.
Oh.
For a second, it looked like he might cry again. As something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that, you're gonna upset him. He interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went to his own head. I was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Jamie in school. You see tons of kids there once summer's over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shadow looked down into the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking out conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. Shadow's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was at something else entirely. He didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Look at the sunset bird, Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. You offered him a small smile, and that at least looked to reassure him some. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. He saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days when she was in a bad mood or busy, he even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. Looking back on it years later, you would realize that you had a tiny crush on him right away. One that made you want to spend as much time with him as you did. Of course, that was only the start of things. The theater is where you can go through these moments. These are all just little mini stories you can play through. You can just play them in any order, or you can just skip these and go to the next part. A little time skip. I won't be playing through the DLCs on stream, so not to spoil them. Although this is all purely optional content. This is just like little extra stories that you can just have fun getting into should you decide to buy them. So let's see. We can start with this one first, The Long Day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you're really filling it up again. Everything else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel frustrated. He was always wanting to hear what you thought instead of giving his own opinion, and expected you to come up with the plans. It was hard work, especially for such a hot day. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like... an ice cream sandwich. You craved soft ice cream sandwich between two cookies. There's nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your mom didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there are plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. You voiced your predicament out loud. I want an ice cream sandwich. Shallow, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have anything like that in the house, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shallow rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. He set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's not enough.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Then paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust, or sandy crumbs. But every so often, one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pulling your finds. Shallow held his breath as he counted the coins once again. $2, 53 cents, and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out.
Is that enough?
You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow cancelled out any other feelings you might have had about that. Yeah. You can now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Now clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you onto your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shallow asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shallow cocked his head to the side. It was your idea, you should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. You felt that Shallow wasn't going to be an obstacle between you and your original choice. Without wasting another second, you exchanged cold, hard cash for equally cold, but maybe less hard dessert. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You put the ice cream sandwich, chewy chocolate biscuit complemented to creamy vanilla ice cream inside. You held out to Shallow so you could take a turn. He shook his head.
You can finish it.
You didn't want any? After everything you did to help get it? That was weird. You tried to include Shiloh. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you'd ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously toward your fingers. It's only fair that you have some. We both bought it. But you wanted more than I do, and getting to play was a lot of fun already. So you can have it. That's more fair. You held it out to him. I want you to have some even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up.
Thank you.
It's really good. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Shiloh was always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shallow didn't know how to say or what he felt, or was too afraid to. Are you scared of me? Shallow opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. No way! but you don't tell me things, like what you want to do or what treat we should get.
That's not because I'm scared. It's because you have better ideas than I do.
Unfortunately, this was yet another thing you can entirely believe Shiloh on. You hoped it was true and that he really did feel okay around you, though. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There have been good times and there have been confusing ones. You're positive one thing at least. The treat was delicious and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, shot at your heels. Once there, you defended Cove. You didn't know what happened, but that wasn't going to stop you from fixing whatever was wrong.
Stop it, leave him alone!
The declaration wasn't directed just at Lizzie, or anyone else specifically. It's for anyone who deserved to hear it.
Amy? Are you okay? Do you need help? You can tell me.
Amy, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me.
Oh, sorry.
Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have.
They're like that with everyone.
Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. It didn't matter if they were really nice, like Cove.
Yeah, Lizzie said.
Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction.
I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do?
No.
I'm just gonna stay away.
Or you could teach them a lesson.
There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What?
Just ding dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'd be great because you're so slow. They'll never catch you.
That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Clove glared, but didn't take the bait. It's a turn to you.
You're not chicken, are you?
You thought they deserved worse. How dare they be mean to Cove? You scrunched up your nose in disgust as you shook your head. As pranks go, it was pretty weak. They would answer the door to find nothing there, so what? It would be sort of annoying, but they seemed like the kind of people that would be irritated about anything. If they were going to open the door, there should be something bad there.
That'll be letting them off too easy.
You felt 3 pairs of eyes staring at you, but you were studying your surroundings thoughtfully. There wasn't much around that they might dislike. Inspiration came crawling towards you in the form of a roly-poly bug. Carefully, you lowered your hand and let it clamber onto your palm. That should do it. You've never been an adult who appreciated bugs.
Let's ding dong ditch and bug them.
Yeah.
We'll go hide. Right as soon as you hit the bell. Good luck.
Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they settled down, you can make out two child-sized shapes staring from between the leaves. You knew where to look for them, though, and so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, his gaze flicking to the house and back at you.
Don't let them catch you, okay? Be careful. I'll be quick as a flash.
Cove glanced back before he even reached the other side and stumbled as his foot caught on the sidewalk. He straightened up and looked back to smile nervously at you before joining Lizzie and Shiloh in their hideaway. The weight of 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything buried before as you approached the door. You stared down at the little bug still wriggling in your closed hand and carefully placed it on the ground where it could be seen, but off enough to the side so it wouldn't be stepped on. And you rung it. You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Would you make it in time? Approaching the hiding spot, you knew that there wasn't time to go around the bushes that the others had done. You took a shortcut, leaping over them. Or to be more accurate, crashing to the tops of the bushes and then falling over to the other side. Cove quietly hissed as you unwittingly collided into him, but by the way his arms were out, it seemed he had intentionally tried to cushion your landing. Shh! Lizzie put a finger to her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled your limbs from Coves and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peering back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hands, but it wasn't enough to stifle your giggles. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping. They locked eyes with the bush and stormed over in your direction. Ellegasson looked to Lizzie.
Run!
Your sister did not hesitate to take her own advice. Neither did Shiloh. You got up, but seeing Cove struggling to extract himself and stand up with just the one fully functional arm, gave him a hand getting to his feet. It wasn't your intention to run, still holding onto each other, but neither of you remembered to let go. As you made your escape, you thought yourself that he didn't even notice the bug. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. Flop down, completed the grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Cove lifted his head.
I told you there were mean grandparents around here.
Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. You had been hoping the two of you might have become closer, but you had to let it go. He was happy where he was. There were other things to attend to anyway. You were closer to Cove. He had calmed down for the most part, and was inspecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals towards him.
That's a poppy.
Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower.
And the type of poppies on this hill have the name white linen poppy. Mom told me.
He quirked a smile.
That's funny.
He ran a finger around the edge of the petals.
Doesn't feel like cloth. You need a lot of them to make anything.
He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete.
This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what else it was called. Thanks. I picked tulips. My mom gets them on special days and they look really nice. He's nice too. Yeah, and you're nice like both of them. Really? Well, I think so.
You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you could under on cold rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it.
Look, a dolphin!
Cove joined in, gazing skywards.
Yeah, I see it. Really? No, but I like dolphins. Hey.
He chuckled at your reaction. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned every sweep of the tide.
Let's go to the beach.
There was no argument from the other two. It was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You want to go there too. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge, the waves tickled your feet.
I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything.
That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything.
You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fishes.
I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious.
You never heard Lizzie use that word before.
I mean, like those that bubbles in your bath. So turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom gonna pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy.
What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does.
Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about?
You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when his topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms.
It's okay. I like Lucy and Jamie. I don't have a dad. I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great.
Oh, sorry. I only have one now too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
Oh, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone.
Cove nodded.
Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, but still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Alice scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You better run for it. You're way too dirty and wet for comfort. Nothing that happened there would feel as good as getting dry. You got out of the water before anyone could catch you again. Perching on a rock, you scraped the wet sand from your legs as you watched the others. The sand came away in thick chunks at first, like clay. But where it had been thinner, it had already dried and clung to your skin. Cove and Lizzie were relentless, while Shiloh mostly just dodged. Shallow's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first into the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as Shiloh hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head and his so close just clung. If there's any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it.
That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
You dumbo.
Let it go, Shiloh.
You let him get up by himself. Shiloh seemed to be fine. Babying him might make him feel worse. But Lizzie didn't have the same idea and held her hand out to Shiloh. He reached over and took it. Slowly he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slid back into the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. But there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose and pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped the streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Sand clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside chatting to Cove's dad.
We're back!
Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you're all in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you.
Yeah, certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you wanted to be for the long drive home? Cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You're not making memories, Bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast iron to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. now Yuki was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove, let's get you cleaned up and dried off. You won't want that cast out to be reset. Cove winced at the thought.
Okay.
Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Then was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night. Nice family in Shiloh, too. Resigned to his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. Smiling, he waved back. Good night!
Fine.
Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up too. I want everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom.
Ugh.
Yes, Mom. Hey, Lizzie's mom.
Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet in the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go into your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Mrs. Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without the hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This is no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer, it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there wasn't going to be any further events. Drifting out to sleep sounded like a great idea. And that's what a moment's like. It's a little story, little choices to make. Okay, we can play this one next. Grown Up. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your mom had left the two of you along with Lizzie to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy. Your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy.
If you're stuck inside, you should be adults. You don't play outdoors anyways. You're always inside and telling everybody you're too busy to play.
Why?
Duh.
I said why. It'll be fun. Duh.
What do they do inside that we don't, besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
You want to?
Cove said it, that doesn't sound fun.
Come on! You had one single idea all day.
You could tell that Lizzie wasn't about to give him in anytime soon.
Fine.
With a victory against Cove under her belt, Lizzie turned to you, triumphant.
Sorry, I have other stuff to do. Fine, whatever. Play by yourself. Just don't be loud. Me and Cove will do it ourselves. It's decided.
You look back at you regretfully.
I guess.
Now go on.
Nodding goodbye to the two of them, you trail out to find something else to do. Like he promised, Cove stayed put with Lizzie for the next couple of hours while you watch TV. You could hear them talking as you put on your favorite cartoons in the kitchen. Soon enough, the sound of the TV drowned them out, and you happily tuned into the show, leaning your elbows on the kitchen counter and swinging your legs beneath the stool. It wasn't long before you heard Lizzie and Cove's voices again, and this time they were much louder. Curious about what was happening, you craned your neck to listen in on them better. At first, you mostly only picked up on Lizzie's high-pitched shouting, giving orders, telling Cove what to do, yelling about sports and the Olympics. That was pretty typical for Lizzie, so there was nothing new there. But then you started hearing Cove more and more as time went on. It sounded like they weren't having a very good time. This is a random playthrough, we stayed put. You decided to stay where you were. Cove and Lizzie could probably work it out themselves, you thought. Besides, you had things to do on your own. Decision made, at least with yourself, you turned your attention back to the faithful TV set you decided to focus on instead. The afternoon passed normally for you, but as the sun sank lower in the sky outside, the heat from the day seemed to cool off too. You wish you had someone else to play with. Well, you didn't want to do what Lizzie had suggested, and she probably didn't want to do what you were doing either. Suddenly things erupted for real on the other side of the living room, and this time you couldn't ignore it.
I'm going home! Good, you're terrible.
Just raining down his face, Cove dashed out the front door, slamming it behind him so hard the wood rattled. Mom walked in as soon as Cove ran away. Maybe she heard the door slam.
Oh?
Lizzie, Jamie, where's our guest?
On the other side of the room, you weren't really in a position to say anything. Still sulking, Lizzie stood up and dusted herself off.
He went home.
Oh?
Already?
He was busy. Isn't it time for us to get going already? I don't want to be late.
Oh, right, you better get a move on.
Let's go.
Nolani, where'd you leave the car keys?
Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in the mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. You picked your favorite song. Just made the car ride more fun. Eventually Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. You both knew all the words, and your mom even sang along too. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day. You stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dimming behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your mom took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. Thinking about some more, you had no idea what Lizzie and Cove had really been up to, but you could kind of tell that all of this helped Lizzie. You were confident that the next time they saw each other, everything would be like normal. Not the way I usually play through that moment, but that's something new. A sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shallow sat on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to the shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like, make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in to see. His town wasn't bad, it had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everyone else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you had been pondering.
I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon.
Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough.
So pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids.
yeah.
Swimming might be fun, if we could. But it's not like there's anything we can do about it.
Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shallow's slow, careful movements caught his eye.
Hey, are you building a sandcastle?
Sort of.
I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Sal's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff.
Okay.
He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded.
I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started.
Focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You helpfully used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared.
That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you all great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle.
Cool.
This is gonna be a house.
Look at the base of your sandcastle. You decided to make... castle. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to build a fancy castle. The better part of the next hour is spent focusing on your own work. Boys were the same. Even Shadow didn't sneak as many peeks as everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what we built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shadow had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shelves, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a red bottle cap. It was the best fit for your castle, you decided. And it seemed like the lid from the sports drink that Lizzie was trying to convince your mom to let her try. So you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably take a peek at either one's work. But you decided not to look. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was then broken.
What's on top of yours, Shiloh?
You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney.
Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. Looks like smoke.
Neat.
That's good. That's smart.
I guess. I don't see it.
Is smoke supposed to be shiny? Could be. I like it.
It is kind of silly.
And that was that for the current topic.
Jamie, can I see what you did?
Sure. You scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. The castle you built was pretty impressive, all things considered. It had archways, tall walls, and even a little moat circling it. You'd probably feel safe living there. Maybe your moms were the queens. Bella quickly decided to jump into the conversation.
Hey Jamie, what did you do? This is my castle.
Shell didn't look so happy anymore.
You both build castles?
Yeah.
Aw.
That's neat, how you guys match. It's too bad if we didn't all do it. This time we should.
Wouldn't that be boring? If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special.
Yeah, for sand castles and stuff.
People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual.
I don't think I'm pretty special.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Ella simply shook his head.
I'm not different.
A beat passed between the two. Both then looked down at his work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your mom sent my dad, Jamie? He waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to, and he didn't. You considered Cove's question. I wasn't there, they didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued.
Oh.
Well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't.
Jamie's parents and my dad met the same day I met him. I'm gonna say what happened. Shallow frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's change the topic. That was kind of boring for him, so giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. I think Shiloh wants to talk too. Well, we were talking, just not right now. I'm talking to you. You can listen. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. He'll continue like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. And I saw your moms. They were in the car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand and went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said, I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there. The ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded and stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you gonna finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. You really gotta get better at telling stories. Cove didn't seem to accept the critique whatsoever. But that was how our parents met. I didn't make the story up. True stories can be good, that isn't the problem. That was his mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There's a slight shrug of cold shoulders.
Well...
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first before he went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. He thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey Shiloh.
Yeah?
Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing's happening? Clearly startled, he dragged back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again.
I don't know, I guess.
Okay. It's kinda weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched. He was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw. It was a big deal to Shiloh. Huge deal. He didn't just look sad. He seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer.
Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody's named Cove.
Who asked you to come?
It's probably just your dad bugging Jamie's family some more because you don't have anyone else who will ever play with you.
Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't never known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh.
I'm sorry.
Me too, but I was just wondering.
Hey, let's build another sandcastle. Today's gonna be over soon. Jamie, you're right. The sun's going down so fast.
Y'all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Sal's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. Pierre stayed uncomfortable for the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shallow's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least he tried to do something to resolve it though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shallow's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Shallow gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together toward the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet.
You pass by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. He asked Cove what he's thinking. Something was definitely up, so he chose to reach out to him and ask.
Hey Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face.
Oh.
I was just wondering.
Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed.
Why did Shallow act like that when I said he was all red a lot?
He shrugged at Cove with no answer to give. There wasn't really much he had to say about Shiloh. He was Lizzie's friend.
I guess I can get it, why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too.
Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour.
Hey, Jamie? Was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh?
His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second.
Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot.
An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it, you knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden.
Your dad does do stuff so you'll hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that.
Cove's shoulders relaxed. He hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I don't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay, is all.
Thanks.
Thanks for telling me.
His throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard.
You're welcome.
By now the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Say goodbye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Cove smiled and nodded firmly.
Bye, Jamie.
You made your way to your house, crossing the driveway to get to the front door. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too. As if he felt your eyes on him, he turned around. He waved. You did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad, or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad, or if he didn't want to play with you anymore. You might change your mind sometime. There's always tomorrow, after all. But for now, it's definitely something that you keep to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your house. No shopping. Now before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you had been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Professor. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He was to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe he made a noise because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You gotta learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first, and then his dad. In turn, Cove shuffled his feet in place as you got closer.
Jamie, hi.
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Jamie?
Taking a walk. I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's lots of snails around here.
Mr. Holden grinned at you kindly. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove. He was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him?
Yeah.
You can come.
He immediately grinned at the idea. He hadn't been sure if you'd see Cove today, and now he was inviting you somewhere. This day couldn't get much better. Great. I'm sure you guys have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd since your mom's only ever seen the cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving a wink and whisper. Here's something for your friend, too.
Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up, the bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped into his pocket. Then one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. He followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities his outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand and he fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, there weren't many clouds in the sky, but the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. He took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When he looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and he slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. He didn't feel the need to ask why. Searching the sand in front of you as you walked, you kept an eye out for any cool shells you might find that you could add to your collection. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times. Although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word.
What do you usually do on the beach? Lots of things. I like bodyboarding and volleyball and surfing and everything and stuff.
The idea of standing on a big board while the waves propelled you towards the shore was mystifying.
I'm not allowed to surf. Looks hard. Not once you get the hang of it. I could show you sometime. But I'm also not supposed to surf right now because I have this.
He lifted up one arm, showing off the glaring pink cast wrapped around his wrist.
Yeah.
That's that for him. Hope still smiled though. He thought his nonchalant attitude towards the injury was pretty brave.
I also like collecting stuff that's on the shore. Shells, sand dollars. I found a shark tooth once.
You did?
Hope stretched out his forefinger and thumb.
It was this long.
That was somehow both scary and delightful.
No way.
I mean it. I still have it under my bed.
You'd have to remember to ask him to show it to you sometime.
So...
What about you? What do you do out here?
I don't come to the beach a lot. You like the beach fine, but you really went down without Lizzie. Today had been a special occasion.
Why? I don't know. I guess I'm doing other stuff.
Cove seemed personally offended by this revelation. The beach must matter a lot to him, but that makes sense. His name is Cove, after all. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day. The call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It's nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There's so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out.
What's that?
Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read The Amazing Alexander, glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the Amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards.
Maybe we could stay and watch.
Cove glanced back at the man. He then briefly lifted his arms off his sides before returning them to place. You waiting for him to follow you as he raced back to the stand in the crowd. With that it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. He did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared.
Whoa!
The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear?
Nothing?
It's true, he didn't keep anything there. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and he wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. You felt a tug, and then he pulled the 4 diamonds out from behind your ear.
Ugh.
You knew that couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't know how he'd done it. There was light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table, both in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant.
Wow.
Now you're really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card.
Malcolm does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, the stuff with the cards.
Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. It's too bad, but he kinda wanted to meet Cove's uncle. If he knew how to make things disappear too, you thought that would be pretty neat. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed beside there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. Pick up a magic 8-ball.
Ooh, these are really cool.
You shifted your balloon string to the other hand so you could hold it up in front of you. Then you thought of a question in your mind, shaking the ball and hearing some kind of a liquid slosh around inside it. Once you had given it a good shake, you held it upright, waiting for the answer to appear. Concentrate and ask again. You wriggled your nose and set the magic 8-ball back on the rack. It wasn't the answer you were hoping for. You followed Cove around to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and joined him.
I don't really like it here.
Cove quickly looked at you, almost letting go of his balloon completely.
Why? I just don't.
Maybe we could go to a different part of the street later. You stood in silence for a few moments waiting for Cove to do something. When he finally moved towards some stalls nearby, you followed behind him. While Cove looked at the sand pails, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were some to the shape of sea creatures, and there's a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There are lots of different types. So a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. You picked up the crab. Your hand stopped on the crab, claws raised and a tiny smile on his face. It had big eyes and little legs, and the fabric was smooth where you picked it up. You had seen a few crabs on the beach before, though you usually scuttled away before you could get a chance to look at them closely. You liked the idea of having a crab all of your own, even if it's just a soft animal. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know how much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You really had more than a $5 bill to your name.
Is that what you want? Huh? Oh. It's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
That's fine. I don't want you to get it for me. Are you sure? Yeah, I'll get it next time.
You really did like the keychain, you just wanted to pay for it with your own money. It was then that you saw Cove was holding a small yellow bucket for himself. You slowly put the soft toy back down on the table, only glancing back once before you followed him behind the vendor. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out the store side by side, your balloon dolphin knocking each together and sprawling around in the air. You watched Cove hold his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly.
Hey, Cove? Yeah? Never mind.
Okay. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his long cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, Tears let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you're definitely ready for some lunch.
Let's get some food. Yeah.
You two wandered around for a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over to you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you... got a plain one. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over for you to take a big bite. Add a little sprinkling of salt on it, and that was just how you liked it. The little cup of icing Cove got with his did look delicious. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down.
These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat.
Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you.
I know.
After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied in a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh,
Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching this balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled, satisfied.
Can you do it for me?
He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand and a string array tangled around the other. But the action made you feel strangely happy. You couldn't look him in the eyes.
okay.
Got it.
The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After time you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned your face toward the beach, it also looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel in the wrapper and he was gripping his dolphin too.
My name is Cherry. She's actually an alien. When no one's looking, she transforms back into her true alien self. There's purple skin and 10 eyes.
He sighed, wishing you could be the real-life alien.
What's yours?
Cove considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation.
It's...
With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons.
Oh no.
For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes. You saw tears start to glisten.
Jamie!
He didn't say anything. You'll be alright. You felt bad for Cove, but his balloon was gone and you both had to accept that. The shredded pieces had been picked up by the wind and were being scattered over the table in front of you. Cove sniffled, rubbing a hand under his glasses and wiping the tears that clung to his lashes. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sandpail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been great going around with Cove. You hope to do it again. The next time you wish nothing would happen to make him cry. Now we can run off this set with fireflies.
Alright!
Tonight we're gonna catch fireflies.
At the splendid decoration from your sister, you looked up for your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were the familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around.
Oh, you are you?
You pushed your food around on your plate. You like catching fireflies just as much as the next kid, but you wish Lizzie would ask what you wanted to do for a change.
That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we miss this last?
Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. He didn't hear why. Probably more work things. He thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for long is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree.
Wow.
It's already so dark out there.
Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response.
There.
Let him go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, and Mom eventually sighed and nodded back.
Yes!
Fine.
Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay?
Duh.
Yeah, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head. Already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. Lizzie and Shiloh started digging into their food. It soon became a race to see who could finish their dinner first.
Isn't that great?
Aren't you excited to go outside and play, Jamie? He gave a non-committal shrug.
He's just mad because I always catch the most.
Lizzie boasted proudly, her mouth full of food. Mom gave her a stern look. Elizabeth? A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold her sister.
I'll get it.
Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was.
Huh?
You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat.
Oh, Cove, you're here. Hi.
There are a million things you thought that you wanted to tell him about. Lizzie's homer in the baseball game earlier in the day, your first successful cartwheel. Most importantly, you wanted to ask if he'd come firefly catching with y'all. He saw him direct a smile at you and returned it with an eager wave. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing, and he stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considered turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. He left us back home when we moved.
Hey, thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, why don't you come inside for a bit?
Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here, right? Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mom closed the door behind him.
Hi.
Hi, Cove.
Ella gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by, holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. You weren't sure what to say now.
Is Cole coming with us to catch fireflies too? If he stays, I guess.
Lizzie didn't exactly look thrilled by the idea, and you wondered if she felt threatened that someone might catch more bugs than her. Or maybe she didn't like his company.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I never caught one before.
It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he moved in, and there must not have been anywhere he used to live.
We can't go until after dinner.
After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet?
Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What'd you have?
Eggs. A quick one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food in his plate. Her phone call with Cove Sam must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later.
Sure.
Fun.
Oh fun, this will be so nice. As she polished up the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far.
Fine, Mom.
Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shallow by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
So slow, Jamie. We don't have all night.
You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking in a relaxed pace. You waved at him to hurry.
Cove!
You hit an encouraging smile over your shoulder at him before you ran up to catch up with Lizzie and Shiloh. After a moment, you heard the slapping of Cove's sandals against the pavement as he chased after you. The two of you ran up the hill together to join Lizzie and Shiloh, laughing and tagging each other as they went. As you climbed the hill with Cove beside you, you held your fingers towards the fireflies that were gently bobbing all around, illuminating the grass and the poppies covering the hill. There was barely any wind, which made it perfect for the little lightning bugs to be out exploring the big, wide world. A grin nearly broke your face in delight.
Wow.
Sal took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill.
Hi, guys. It's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah.
A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. He quietly looked on. You took a couple of steps back slowly, trying not to spook the little bug as you admired how it glowed so brightly against Cove's hair. Cove raised an eyebrow, giving you a confused look, and Shallow giggled. He gestured to his head, and he reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped, then followed after the glow.
Oh! Oh, look! Lizzie has one! That's amazing!
Bella ran to the highest point in the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You held as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Spotting one close by, you approached it with an assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept out towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down in your prize in delight. His tiny lips tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target. When he tried to grab it in his pink cast, waved awkwardly to the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly.
Ugh.
Cove watched it vanish in thin air, with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You encouraged him to try again.
I got the next one.
Did you catch one? He nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, going closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand and you leaned closer, eyes widening and a tab behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers slightly over the top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. It stayed very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand, quietly gasped.
It worked! Yeah, you got one.
Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile and his eyes shined brighter than the bug.
Thanks, Jamie.
Your eyes and his locked together while still holding hands. He suddenly pulled away. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Oops.
He cheered up.
Jamie, I'm really sorry. You don't have to cry. Let's get another.
You decided to collect more.
Huh? We can work together.
His face broke down to a wide grin.
We got a bunch.
With renewed vigor, you ran onto the hill. You're not sure how much time passed when you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You're having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with a crash at the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background.
Jamie, this way!
You followed the sound of Ko's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Ko and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that he had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success, with both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to last. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Both didn't complain. He breathed in heavily and his face seemed fully flushed.
That was fun. A lot of fun.
He smiled in broadly, happy they enjoyed the activity.
Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Jamie, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race.
Shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on the top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning you with quick hand gestures. With shoes like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. You didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race.
Hi.
Cove!
You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us.
As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. You frowned down in his cast. That's the second time it got in the way tonight.
What? Yeah, you want to see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee. Rosaray decided.
I'm gonna do something else. What?
You didn't feel much like racing. You told Lizzie the very same thing, and she wrinkled her nose at you.
But the race is always better with more people. I want you to play too.
Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air.
Fine. I'll be the winner whether you join or not.
Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same.
Bye.
Bye.
You turned and wandered back to the other side of the hill, deciding how to spend your time. Your plan was to sit and watch the ocean. You found the spot a little way away from the others, looking out over the ocean and wondering what kinds of creatures were hidden beneath the dark water. The top of the sea looked like a mirror, reflecting the moon and the stars above it, and you imagined that they weren't stars at all, but hundreds of jellyfish dancing just beneath the surface. You had seen pictures of those types of jellyfish before, glowing brightly even when everything around them was pitch black. You knew better than to try to capture them, the same way you did with fireflies though. All you would get from jellyfish was a nasty sting. You continued to gaze at the sea, where you're not sure how long, until a familiar voice called out.
Jamie! Time to go home!
Your head perked up at the sound of your name and you followed it over to Lizzie. Sad that the night was over so soon. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out into the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much, anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, but judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. And then summer ended. I'll never get tired of that view. You sit beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we're so dull. Let's get out more.
do real magic, Mom. So you figured that one out.
Duh.
Because I know. That's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear. There's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. He looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since she started home. He didn't look upset though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. What's happening with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan.
Ugh.
Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You surely didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. We have to keep playing before it's too late. Mom raised an eyebrow, the corner of her mouth lifting before she pursed her lips. You make it sound like this is the end of the world. It practically is. You nodded vigorously, thankful that you had your sister on your side. Surely your joint effort would wear your mom down.
Please.
So we'll have homework and reading to do? We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, thinking that to add something to the argument. Well...
No.
Well, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Alright. As soon as dinner's ready, you're allowed to come inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudged his arm with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I can still get the seashell bracelet at Teens and Trinkets. Dines and Trinkets? Ooh, maybe the playground! Where the fireflies will probably be coming out, right? You silently made your own plans. Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to do, but what were you going to do? You glanced over the Cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your brothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. Are you going home too, Jamie? Phil was leaning towards the beach, and you could tell he wanted to stay out a bit longer. David Cove. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
He made a little gesture that you interpreted as follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, and tossed it down into the water. It wasn't a long throw, but you didn't care to try for that. You can't skip rocks in the ocean.
Why?
Why not? You thought about it for a moment. Because of the salt. Huh? You nodded in that way Lizzie did sometimes when she wanted to pretend that she knew what she was talking about. Both squinted at you, and you let your eyes wander back towards the water as a tiny smile curved your lips. I'm not trying to skip rocks anyway. Huh? Oh. Bo was looking down his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface even though you're pretty sure you couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
How to wear this cast for ages? You can't even swim. How'd you get it? I was jet skiing. Really? Cove narrowed his eyes a little. Yeah, why would I lie? I didn't mean like that. He then continued to explain. I crashed. He gestured to his arm as if to say, and this was the result. It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski.
Well...
I'm not. Oh,
Cove let out a huff, flopping down into the sand.
can't believe summer is almost over.
He sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change.
I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that.
That's great! We can sit together during lunch! You only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. And then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. Could be kinda scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees and he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound. When you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
The sudden sadness caught you off guard. You were so excited that Cove would be going to your school. It made you feel bad that he was so upset about it.
Well, I can walk back with you.
Cove shook his head at the offer.
No, I want to go back home.
Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt sad. It had been a while since he moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down to the sand and to consider what to do.
It'll be alright.
Sometimes when you're sad about something, your mom said that to you. In the moment, you thought it couldn't possibly be alright, because your stuff-a-lot lost his arm, or you skinned your knee, or you couldn't possibly finish all your vegetables. But in the end, they were always right.
You're not gonna leave, right? You'll still be around?
The question was a little surprising.
I don't know. Probably, I think.
You were pretty sure your mom would tell you if you were going to move, but the way Cove asked, so hesitant and vulnerable, made you feel a little uncertain to make a promise he might not keep. After a second, Cove gave a little nod.
Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming.
You were finding him changing the subject again.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves.
My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything.
He spared a glance over at Cove and saw the anger that slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled.
But maybe that will be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it.
You can remember a long time ago, when you first started going to school. You had absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you never met before. Things changing is hard.
I can.
Cove gave you a dubious look and then a very slow nod. His eyes went a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears than the ones from before, though.
I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will. It will.
The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You definitely tried to help in what ways you could. There are so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. You were reluctant to move, having enjoyed sitting together, but you were hungry. You stood and dusted the sand off of yourself.
My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come.
Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately...
Okay.
When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own.
Jamie, thanks.
Thanks.
It was nice. Very rare right then. But the two of you couldn't stay in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. The both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Oh, we can pick this up next time. As you can see, with the potential to update our look for the next step. But until then, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Thanks for stopping by. And if you're interested in this game, it's like once again, it's 100% free on Steam. So go check it out. See ya.